Alex was caught by Hong Kong paparazzi once again, this time speeding through the city and kissing his young girlfriend. His long, well-defined fingers rested lazily on the car window as he flashed a casual smile at the camera. "Hey, if you want money, go to the Alex family company and talk to my assistant. Just don't post it online, all right? My wife will cry." The video instantly shot to the top of the trending list. Half the comments were joking about the dignity and generosity of this wealthy power couple, a marriage that existed in name only. Yet both sides still gave each other enough face. Only a few people still remembered. 7 years ago, at the century-level wedding that shocked all of Hong Kong, Alex had cried until his eyes turned red, promising everyone with solemn conviction, "Alex will love Emma forever." After watching the video, I personally pushed my mother's body into the morgue and dialed my lawyer's number. The person in this world who wanted Alex and me to be happy the most is no longer here. Draft the divorce agreement. Since so many people are fighting to sit in the seat of Mrs. Alex, I might as well give it up. Chapter 1. Hong Kong is a place where all kinds of people mix together. Alex's reputation as a playboy had long spread across the entire city, but it had been a long time since he caused a scandal this big. I didn't even need to think to know what happened. Some people must have realized they couldn't control Alex anymore, and worried that some new mistress or another would hook up with him. So they stirred up this huge commotion in my name. On my phone, Alex sent a short apology message. "Wife, I'm sorry. I'll handle this matter." The next second, clarification articles flooded Weibo. As always, the story claimed that some shameless woman had tried to destroy our marriage and bribed reporters to film the video using a misleading angle. Over the years, whenever it involved her, Alex would always come up with countless excuses to clean up the mess for her. Out of habit, I lit a cigarette and sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing outside. Hong Kong's dusk was orange-red, but the room felt icy cold. I had been married to Alex for 7 years. Today, the mother who had always hoped we would be happy still failed to survive the surgery and died on the operating table, and I no longer needed to remain in the Alex family for the expensive medical bills. Continuing this marriage that looked glamorous on the surface but was rotten and full of cracks behind the scenes. I took drag after drag of the cigarette until the smoke choked my throat and brought tears to my eyes. The phone rang. Alex's assistant was calling. "Emma, the boss asked me to tell you everything online has been taken care of. He also asked me to pick out a gift for you. Are you home now? I can bring it over." My gaze fell on the display shelf in the living room, which was filled with gifts. My tone was calm. "I'm not. 7 years ago, I was just a poor art academy graduate when I suddenly married into a wealthy family. Everyone bet that the marriage wouldn't last long. Sooner or later Alex would divorce me and marry a woman of equal status. 7 years passed, and everyone was proven wrong. Not only had Alex never divorced me, whenever a scandal broke out, he would still publicly support me in front of the media. Afterward, many netizens even ran into him buying expensive apology gifts for me at luxury counters. The display shelf in the living room was lined with 3 neat rows of gift boxes. All of them were from him over the years. The assistant thought for a moment on the other end of the phone before continuing. "In that case, I'll deliver it later." "Oh, and the boss said that woman was just an accident. It's already been taken care of. Madam doesn't need to think too much about it." "I understand." Chapter 2. Alex hadn't come home for an entire month. If it weren't for this scandal, I probably wouldn't have even received his message. After hanging up, I walked toward the display shelf. Then I pushed it over. Gift boxes scattered across the floor, revealing the dazzling jewelry inside. Each piece was worth millions. Alex had always been generous with me in that regard. Besides the gifts, he transferred 1 million to my account every month as spending money. My mother's surgery costs were a bottomless pit. The special medicine was more expensive than gold. Whenever I ran out of the allowance, I asked Alex for more. No matter how much I asked for, he was willing to pay. That reminded me of when we first met 7 years ago. He risked being expelled from school to help me clear the plagiarism scandal that had erupted during the graduation exhibition. At the time, I was just an unknown freshman at the art academy, yet I saw my own work displayed at the graduation exhibition. I reported it to the school, but my appeal failed. The senior who plagiarized my work produced her original notes. Everyone sided with her and accused me of slandering a senior student, humiliating the school and stirring a huge online controversy. Only Alex, then a sophomore in the economics department, stood up unconditionally to support me when I was completely isolated. Artwork has a soul. Compared to people, it speaks the truth better. The draft and the final work of the senior student only captured its shape, but not its soul. Back then Alex looked radiant and upright, wearing a white shirt glowing under the sunlight. He stood in front of me, blocking all doubts, and smiled casually. "Emma, right? Can you tell me what inspired this piece?" With red eyes, I gathered my courage and stood in the center of the exhibition hall, explaining the thoughts behind the work. In the end, the senior received a severe disciplinary record. I regained ownership of my work and was noticed by many investors, gaining fame earlier than most students of my class. Back then, just like now, Alex stood by my side without hesitation. But at that time, Alex was merely a stranger I needed to thank. Now Alex and I were a respectable but emotionally distant couple in the wealthy circle. The next afternoon, Alex unexpectedly came home. As soon as I walked in, he poked his head out from the kitchen and raised an eyebrow with a cheerful smile. "You're back? Sit down and rest for a bit. Dinner will be ready soon." 3 dishes and a soup were already on the table, all my favorites. After placing the last vegetable dish down, Alex leaned closer to me, his eyes as gentle and charming as ever. "Try it. How does it taste?" I picked up a piece of braised pork and placed it into my bowl. Then I spoke directly. "I won't agree to let Ruby play the female lead in Morning Tidings. If she really likes the script, she can consider the 3rd female role." The warmth in Alex's eyes slowly disappeared. He leaned back in his chair, a faint trace of irritation flashing across his gaze. Apparently Ruby had been pestering him about this ever since I rejected her. "I'll guarantee her involvement. If the project loses money, I'll cover it." When I still didn't agree, he sighed and added another piece of braised pork to my bowl. "Emma, I don't want you to make things difficult for her because of me." I stared at Alex for a long time, so long that he looked away uncomfortably. In outsiders' eyes, Alex was a playboy who constantly changed young girlfriends. Even when paparazzi photographed him, he simply paid them off. Yet he always protected me, the official Mrs. Alex, with absolute dominance. But only I knew the truth. He was protecting the rising young actress in the entertainment industry from the past few years. Chapter 3. Ruby. Just like her name, gorgeous face, fiery body, irresistibly seductive, she was the first woman to hook up with Alex, and the only one who had stayed by his side for so long. Over the years, Alex had sent away one woman after another who flocked to him. Only she remained. Ruby, with her alluring and sexy appearance, could not afford to carry the label of a third party. That didn't match the pure and kind heroine image. But unfortunately, aside from beauty, she had no acting skills at all. Not to mention the company had invested a full $900 million in Morning Tidings. The drama also had $500 million original novel fans. If Ruby were chosen as the female lead, the consequences would be unimaginable. I guessed Alex probably hadn't agreed to help her at first. That was likely why yesterday's gossip scandal happened. And today, he probably came home for her as well, and even cooked this meal for me because of her. My voice was calm. "Her acting skills. Do you really think I'm the one making things difficult?" Morning Tidings is an S-tier historical romance production. Do you want everyone involved to be buried along with Ruby? Alex tossed his chopsticks aside and smiled lazily at me. Forget I said anything. He stood up and walked out. I lost my appetite as well. Actually, in the beginning, Ruby wasn't any different from the others to Alex. At that time, Alex and I had already been married for 3 years, yet I still hadn't gotten pregnant. I had grown anxious and made an appointment with a psychologist, but I ran into Ruby at the entrance. She stood in front of me confidently, raising her voice. "You should hurry up and divorce Alex. He already belongs to me now." Ruby was only 18 then, just beginning her career. Her face carried the fearless arrogance of youth. Her skin was full of collagen, forming a stark contrast with my increasingly worn appearance. My face instantly turned pale. When Alex appeared, he pulled me into his arms with concern. With a dark expression, he ordered someone to take Ruby away and promised me he would never contact her again. But that day, I couldn't accept the reality that my husband had cheated. With red eyes, I slapped Alex hard across the face. Then I pushed him out of the house. That same night, Ruby attempted suicide for love, and Alex witnessed it with his own eyes, holding her nearly lifeless body in his arms. He promised her he would never drive her away again. After I rejected Ruby at today's meeting, I already knew Alex would come looking for me. He had always liked standing up for others. Back then, it was for me. Now, it was for Ruby. Chapter 4. I scooped a spoonful of seaweed soup into my mouth. A bitter and astringent taste spread across my tongue. Another provocative message from Ruby appeared on my phone. So what if you won't let me act? One day I'll replace you. In the 4K photo she sent, Alex had cleared out an entire luxury boutique just to make her happy. It was obviously Alex's usual way of compensating someone. I calmly replied with a single sentence. Congratulations in advance. Soon you'll get exactly what you want. The next day, I took the divorce agreement drafted by my lawyer and went to the ancestral residence to see Alex's father. The study smelled strongly of sandalwood, and the air carried a faint sense of suffocation. He looked at me coldly, his voice filled with disappointment. After all these years you still haven't figured it out. You truly aren't worthy of being our family's daughter-in-law. I lowered my eyes and smiled faintly. Yes, that's why I'm here to get divorced. 3 years ago, when I discovered Alex and Ruby were in contact, I had already planned to divorce him, but my mother's illness required money, and I was also managing many affairs in the Alex household. For the time being, I couldn't leave. Everyone advised me to endure, especially his father. He frowned and asked in confusion, "Did you really think it was that easy to marry into a wealthy family? I thought you understood that when you got married." I stood there stunned, my mind in chaos. At 22, my eyes were filled only with love. I truly hadn't thought about it that much, but everyone believed I had married Alex for his family's money. Whenever arguments escalated, even Alex would say, "You've taken so much money from my family. Don't act like you're so noble." Now, 7 years later, I had completely lost interest in this place that looked magnificent on the outside but rotten within. Along with Alex's love, I no longer wanted it either. Seeing that I remained unmoved, his father lowered his head and began flipping through the divorce agreement. "Emma, with your intelligence, why must things come to this? Father still hopes you'll think it through. In a marriage, mutual benefit is the most stable and lasting relationship." I took a sip of the tea on the table, my voice still calm. But there's nothing left for me to gain from Alex. In the past, I had loved most the way he stood in front of me, protecting me. Now that the love had faded, he had long since been protecting someone else. He turned to the final page of the agreement, his brows furrowed as he asked seriously, "And the family? Nothing there either?" The teacups clinked softly. I smiled. "No." Chapter 5. During these 7 years here, I had been managing all sorts of matters for both the company and the family. My father-in-law ultimately couldn't bear to have me leave with nothing. He transferred a Western-style villa into my name, with the divorce agreement stamped and finalized in my hands. I drove to the casino to find Alex. This fortress once held many simple and beautiful memories between Alex and me. When I first arrived in Hong Kong, I didn't even know how to sit at a gambling table. Alex held my hand and slowly placed chips one by one, explaining the rules of the games beside me. Within just a few days, I had become familiar with his group of brothers and had briefly fallen in love with this gambling table. This place that never slept, where lights stayed on day and night, once brought me intense excitement in both blood and senses. The adrenaline rush that surged through my veins made me addicted. I slowly walked into that familiar room and saw Alex at the gambling table. He had one arm wrapped around Ruby with his back facing me, laughing and chatting with the brothers beside him. Alex seemed to have won quite a lot of chips, which led everyone to tease him. "With the real sister-in-law here, your luck is incredible. Look at all of us, we've lost everything, even our underwear." Ruby smiled charmingly, just about to speak, but Alex caught sight of me behind him. The playful smirk at the corner of his lips disappeared as he spoke seriously. "No wonder you've been losing all day. Your eyesight is terrible." Many people fell silent and turned to look at me just like Alex did, making the clicking sound of my high heels echo clearly. I walked to the table and glanced at Ruby's unpleasant expression. A crisp sound rang out in the private room. "Ah." Ruby covered her reddened cheek and glared at me. Over the years, I had been busy paying for my mother's medical treatment and rarely paid attention to her, which made her forget how the first time she met me, I slapped her in front of everyone and called her shameless. Now that I was about to divorce, I had even less reason to be polite to her. Ruby broke down in tears and clung to Alex, demanding that he stand up for her. Look at her! Alex slightly raised his eyes and spread his hands helplessly, indicating that there was nothing he could do. He was always like this, in front of outsiders. He gave me all the dignity, yet he had done so many things that broke my heart. Chapter 6. I threw the divorce agreement directly onto the table and spoke calmly. My father has already looked at it. After you sign it, give it to the lawyer. The bold words divorce agreement looked especially clear on the gambling table. Alex frowned and glanced at me with surprise. Just because of this? You're really not giving me any face at all? Everyone in the room looked at one another and hurried to persuade me for Alex's sake. Sister-in-law. Our fault. Our fault. We were the ones talking nonsense just now. Please don't be angry with our brother. If maintaining my dignity was the reason Alex had always been willing to defend me in public all these years, then today I had finally vented my anger. I nodded toward Alex and shifted my gaze to Ruby beside him. Yes, someone has coveted my position for a long time. I'm giving it to her. After saying that, I turned around and left the private room without looking back. That very night, Alex returned home. He hugged me from behind the sofa, the scent of perfume on him overwhelming. So carefree? Just like that. You're giving up the position of Mrs. Alex? I finished the final stroke of my design draft and pushed him away. The living room was quiet, with Titanic playing on the projector. I looked at Alex and noticed a trace of tension in his eyes. What? Can't bear it? Alex lowered his head, his deep and sharp features outlined by the dim light. Emma, after all these years, I've been a bastard at times, but I only want you to be my wife. I may not be good enough, but isn't this home good enough? Alex, who had grown up in luxury and admiration, probably couldn't understand why I wanted to leave. He had grown up seeing relationships that lacked loyalty, filled with hypocrisy and pretense. How could he possibly understand what I truly wanted? The gifts on the display shelf had already been neatly arranged again by the housemaid. I casually opened one of the boxes and asked Alex, "Do you still remember why you gave me this bracelet?" Alex frowned slightly. Clearly, he couldn't remember. Does that matter? Or do you just not like it? This bracelet was the gift from our wedding anniversary this year. It symbolized gratitude and guilt. Chapter 7. I originally thought Alex still had some conscience, that he wanted to apologize to me and make amends. But I forgot. These gifts had always been bought by his assistant. Gifts are the tangible expression of love. What I hope to receive is the tangible love from my partner. Without love, that's the reason I want a divorce. Alex's gaze flickered slightly, and a trace of complexity appeared in his eyes. I asked father already. After the divorce, aside from that villa, you'll have nothing. Emma, you're already used to living the life of a rich wife. Once you leave this family, you won't be able to handle it. Alex's words made my eyes redden, not because of what he said, but because of some memories from the past. I took a deep breath, my voice slightly choked. You don't need to worry about me. Thanks to you, the money saved in the trust fund before our marriage is enough for me to live on. Although Alex and I were both students at the University of Hong Kong, my family background had indeed been extremely poor. Back then, Alex truly loved me. In order to marry me, he personally went abroad and secured several international corporate partnerships. With the profits from those deals, along with his own allowance, he established a trust fund for me. Now, after saving for a full 7 years, I checked the account recently. There was already 1 billion in it. The Alex of that time truly loved Emma. He wanted Emma to have confidence, to have the capital to stand on her own feet, so that she could survive within this enormous family. I wiped away the tears from the corner of my eyes and stood quietly before the floor-to-ceiling window. Neither of us spoke again. Alex lowered his head, constantly rubbing the wedding ring in his hand. All these years, aside from Ruby in the beginning, no matter how many women he had outside afterward, I never made a scene. Chapter 8. Love had quietly disappeared through the silent passage of time. This marriage, for the most part, had remained respectable. After a long silence, Alex suddenly called my name solemnly. Emma, if things don't go well for you outside, Come back to me. I'll wait for you for 3 years. I smoothly finalized the divorce with Alex. When I returned to the villa to pack my luggage, there was an unexpected guest in the house. Ruby, wearing a red dress that exposed her waist, was sitting leisurely on the sofa in the living room, drinking tea. When she saw me return, she walked toward me step by step, her eyes full of the pride of a victor. You're back, Emma. Thank you for being so sensible and giving up the position. Ruby had been with Alex for 4 whole years. From an 18-year-old girl full of youthful collagen to now only 22, it was the perfect age to dream about marriage. I didn't have the energy to argue with her. Get out. What are you shouting for? Ruby dropped her act. She placed her hands on her hips and looked at me with disdain. You were just a rich man's wife for a few years. Do you really think you're that impressive? I'm telling you, Alex gave me the password to this place yesterday. From now on, I'm the mistress of this house. I expressionlessly kicked her and drove her out of the villa. Ruby, if you had even a little bit of intelligence, you would know Alex would never marry you. The Alex family needed a hostess who was elegant, dignified, and capable in business, not a seductive vase that only knew how to flaunt her charm. After saying that, I shut the door and changed the password, no matter how she screamed outside like a mad dog. Emma, what makes you think Alex won't marry me? Emma, what gives you the right to say that? Who do you think you are? Chapter 9. I graduated at 22 and followed Alex to Hong Kong. Now 7 years had passed, and I was still drifting, alone, with nowhere to belong. I took my luggage and bought a plane ticket back to Kyoto. My mother was gone. My family was gone as well. Kyoto was the only place familiar to me. What I didn't expect was to run into Ruby at the airport. Perhaps because she had changed her makeup and styling. She no longer looked as arrogant and domineering as yesterday. She appeared far more delicate and polished. Oh, looks like someone is sneaking out of Hong Kong with their tail between their legs. Unfortunately, she still lacked basic manners. I asked the VIP lounge attendant for a bowl of wonton soup and calmly glanced at her. You're not as impressive as you think. Running to someone else's house to throw a tantrum and proudly becoming a rich man's mistress. Ruby's eyes turned red with anger. I guessed that if there weren't other people in the VIP lounge, she might have rushed over and grabbed my hair. A woman blinded by love was the most frightening. Suddenly, I remembered when I first took over the company. Some employees refused to accept my authority and attacked me from behind with a stick. Alex stepped in front of me and took the blow. It tore a large gash open, and blood poured out. I was so furious that day. I didn't know where I found the strength or courage, but I grabbed the stick and charged forward, hitting them back. I beat them until they begged for mercy. Thinking back now, I must have been like Ruby back then, deeply in love with Alex. But how did we end up like this? The wonton soup in the Hong Kong airport VIP lounge was something Alex once brought me to try. He said the chef was from Guangdong and combined the flavors of both Guang regions. You couldn't find it or buy it anywhere else. The wontons smelled delicious. I ate one, but it no longer tasted the same as before. Chapter 10. After 4 hours, the plane landed at Daxing Airport. I had already asked a real estate agent to find a small house near an urban village. After a simple cleaning, I moved in. Divorce and moving to another city. I completed both major life events within a single week. Once everything was over, I completely relaxed and immediately fell sick. My emotions shifted from the initial sense of relief to resentment at the unfairness of fate. Beijing's dusk didn't have the orange sunset of Hong Kong. Rows of tall buildings blocked the scenery. I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window for an entire day, unable to figure it out. Why couldn't Alex and I stay together forever and grow old happily? Was it really that difficult for two people to stay devoted to each other for life? No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't find an answer. After sleeping deeply for an entire night, my illness improved a lot. The next day, I went downstairs to buy breakfast. The owner brought me a bowl of fermented mung bean drink. Without noticing, I took a sip and immediately choked, tears streaming down my face. The owner hurriedly apologized and brought me a bowl of soy milk instead. During the 4 years I studied in Beijing, I never got used to that drink. Alex, however, liked it quite a lot. Perhaps that was the answer. After organizing my thoughts, I began to keep myself busy. During the later years of this marriage, In order to make myself feel better, I started practicing yoga outside and obtained a yoga instructor certificate. Now I could finally open my own yoga studio. Several university friends who had stayed in Beijing had already become urban elites. When they heard about my plan, they readily helped me with the first wave of promotion. Things were gradually getting on track. One night, while I was drinking with my girlfriends at a bar, I received a call from Hong Kong. "Madam, the boss drank so much that he has gastric bleeding. He's in the hospital and keeps shouting that he wants to see you. Could you possibly?" The sound of things crashing could be heard from the other side of the phone, along with Alex's faint voice. "Get out! All of you get out! Where's my wife? Tell my wife to come. Emma, come back." Kyoto's night was dazzling and brilliant, filled with the aroma of alcohol. On stage, male models were enthusiastically showing off their muscular bodies. Chapter 11. Amid the noisy chaos, I calmly replied to the assistant, "Sorry, we're already divorced. I have no obligation to rush back to Hong Kong just because of your phone call." The assistant tried to say something else, but I decisively hung up, then blocked the number with one tap. The matter quickly slipped from my mind. A few days later, however, several wealthy ladies from elite families began making appointments for private yoga sessions at the studio. They entered together, chatting freely. "So this is the yoga studio Alex mentioned? It actually looks quite nice." From their conversation, I learned that quite a few ladies in their social circle had recommended our yoga studio after returning from Hong Kong, which was why they came to check it out. I hadn't expected Alex to support my business like this. These rich wives had plenty of money. In just 1 week, the studio earned nearly $2 million in profit. The reputation of the studio also spread, attracting even better yoga instructors. Another week passed, and Alex suddenly appeared. He came to the yoga studio holding the small cake I loved most back when we were in university, wearing a bright leather jacket. His rebellious yet handsome face drew attention. "Long time no see, Emma." I invited him to sit down and brewed him a cup of oolong tea. "Long time no see." He opened the cake box and cut out a piece, placing it in front of me. "Try it. It was your favorite back then. I don't know if it still tastes the same as before." "It's not the same," I interrupted him. "The shop changed owners. It's much sweeter than before. I don't like it anymore." The smile on his face gradually faded. "What do you want to eat? It's almost noon. I'll take you somewhere nice. The yoga studio has a group lunch." My refusal was obvious. Alex had never been treated this way before. He had never bowed his head to anyone. We sat in the reception room like two strangers who didn't know what the other was thinking, silently drinking tea, until one of the instructors came to call me. I nodded to Alex in farewell and walked out of the reception room. On the table sat the cake, untouched. Chapter 12. Winter in Beijing was much colder than in Hong Kong. By December, the first snow had already fallen. Alex began appearing more and more frequently. Each time we met, he only asked about my recent life and took me to try trendy new restaurants. We had a silent understanding never to mention that failed love or the broken marriage. However, he never mentioned Ruby again, which made me feel a little strange. Out of curiosity, I searched her name online. Almost all reports about her had disappeared. Only a few gossip accounts said she had been blacklisted. Through my best friend in Hong Kong's wealthy social circle, I learned what happened. 2 months after I left, Ruby offended Alex's father and was immediately banned from the industry. "Oh, that girl, let me tell you, she was something else," my friend said. "She actually dared to publicly claim at a banquet that she was the future daughter-in-law of the family, Alex's fiancée. She even used the Alex family name to attract investors and got funding for 2 movies. Later, the investors took the contracts to the Alex family to verify it and found out it was all fake. The production teams refused to refund the money, so everyone came after her. She still insisted Alex would protect her. In the end, Alex got slapped by his father, and she was blacklisted. Now nobody even knows where she went." I couldn't help sighing. Finally, after Alex had been contacting me for 3 months, I asked, "Why are you staying in Jingzhou all this time?" Alex returned to his usual carefree attitude and smiled at me. "To coax you. You divorced me, so of course I have to come coax you." I found it almost laughable. A marriage that, in my eyes, had contained all of my love, ended in ruins. Yet to him, It was merely me throwing a tantrum, perhaps from beginning to end. I was the only one who had devoted myself completely to this marriage. Alex had never believed that a man born into a wealthy family like him would have only one woman in his life. Anger rose from deep within me, but facing his matter-of-fact expression, it felt strangely powerless. I spoke calmly. You don't need to come find me anymore. When I say divorce, it means I won't continue with you. Suddenly he stepped forward and tried helplessly to hold me. My fault. I've already dealt with those women. From now on I'll live properly with you. Okay? A sharp slap echoed in the air. I laughed in anger. If even once in all these years you had cared about my feelings, we wouldn't have ended up like this. Alex's face immediately swelled. He didn't get angry. Instead, he stepped forward and grabbed my arm. You've slapped me and scolded me. If there's anything else bothering you, say it. Then come back to Hong Kong with me. Alex was convinced I was only angry, that once my anger faded, I would obediently go back with him. Chapter 13. During those days, Alex kept blocking the entrance of the yoga studio. Half of the wealthy wives at the studio were clients he had introduced. It wouldn't look good for me to drive him away openly, so I simply hired another yoga instructor and secretly flew to Yunnan overnight to enjoy some peace. Alex probably took about a week to find me. By then, a man with a perfect figure and striking looks was already standing beside me. I introduced him to Alex. Noah, my boyfriend. This is my ex-husband, Alex. Alex glanced at Noah, whose youthful, sunny appearance made him look even younger, and his eyes darkened slightly. A kid this young getting involved with you, he's just after your money. There's no real love there. I had once said the same thing to him. Back then I asked him, Ruby was only 18. Why would she willingly become your mistress? What did he say at the time? He looked at me coldly and replied, she tried to kill herself for me. Isn't that enough proof that she loves me? Now the positions were simply reversed, and suddenly he understood that someone could be after money? I raised my eyebrows, completely indifferent. He wants my money. I want his youth, his handsome face, and those 8-pack abs. What's wrong with that? Alex patiently tried to persuade me to break up with Noah. I refused, and stayed in Licheong with Noah for 3 more nights. Alex didn't leave either. He followed us around the entire time. Unfortunately, young men often can't resist the temptation of money. Alex gave Noah 1 million. The next day, Noah disappeared completely. When I woke up the next morning, I saw Alex leaning against the doorframe, looking at me with smug amusement. See? I told you people like him are only after money. I stared at him as if he were an idiot. Alex suddenly realized something and slapped his thigh. Damn! Chapter 14. Noah had originally just been someone I hired to accompany me. Asking him to pretend to be my boyfriend was only because Alex suddenly showed up. Now that he had taken the money and left, I packed my luggage and returned to Kyoto. Alex probably felt embarrassed after losing face, so he didn't follow me again. After some time passed, I met a gentle and refined man in a cafe. After 3 months of getting to know each other, we confirmed our relationship. Alex called again one day, casually asking when I planned to come back. As if in his eyes, everything I had done was merely a fit of anger. He believed that no one in the world would refuse the chance to marry into his family, and that I could never stop loving him. But the truth was, I simply didn't love him anymore. Why bother? Just live your life properly. Stop calling me from different numbers. His tone remained casual and self-assured. No, I miss you. I gamble every day now, and you're the only thing on my mind. Alex seemed to have the phone on speaker, because laughter erupted around him. Sister-in-law, just come back. Alex misses you so much he's getting skinny. I finally lost my patience. You're already divorced and still making such a spectacle chasing after your ex-wife. Alex, aren't you afraid people will laugh their teeth out? The other side of the phone went silent for a moment. When Alex spoke again, his voice sounded slightly heavy, playful yet carrying a hint of grievance. If you come back, no one will laugh at me anymore. If you don't, they'll laugh me to death. There was a rare trace of emotion in those words, and I didn't respond for a long time. The sound of mahjong tiles on the other side gradually quieted. When I heard Alex's voice again, he seemed to be in the restroom, his voice echoing slightly. Emma. I regret it. I truly want you to come back. There are indeed many couples in the world who divorce and later remarry. But we would never be one of them. I've already crashed into that wall once and ended up battered and bleeding. I won't crash into it a second time. Alex, I sincerely hope you stop interfering with my life. Outside the window, a light drizzle began to fall. The little cat in my arms kept rubbing against me. This was the house I bought when I first arrived in Kyoto. A year later, the renovation was finally finished. The day I moved in, I bought this kitten. Life had gradually begun to get better. Now I had money, a career, and even love. My life was wonderful. Why would I go back to suffer under Alex again? I'm not someone who enjoys hurting myself. Chapter 15. After that day, I never received another call from Alex. Only his father would occasionally call me to ask about work matters. Alex had always been idle. Most of the family's responsibilities had fallen on his father's shoulders. That man, already half a foot in the grave, had to take back control of the family business after I left. One day he suddenly called me and asked me to persuade Alex to get married. He coughed constantly during the call. It sounded like he had been ill for quite some time. I understood what he meant. He wanted to find a reliable successor for the Alex family. As for whether Alex loved the woman or not, he didn't care. I politely declined. Father, if you're looking for a successor, what's the difference between an adopted daughter and a daughter-in-law? I didn't expect him to actually accept my suggestion. Not long afterward, I saw news online that the Alex family had adopted a daughter. Alex's father stood beside her in the photo, looking exactly like a real father and daughter. Soon after, I heard that all the affairs of the Alex family had been handed over to that adopted daughter. Alex had been sidelined. Even the money he could use every day was restricted. Later, his father passed away, and I stopped paying attention to anything related to the Alex family. I only heard that Alex's life had not been going well. That adopted daughter was a tough one. She didn't care about Alex's status as her brother and refused to give him even a little power or money. Without the capital to squander, Alex's life in Hong Kong gradually became worse and worse. Another year passed. The man I met in the cafe and I successfully got married. The following year, I became pregnant and gave birth to an adorable baby girl. My husband was wonderful, a complete daughter devotee. Every day I was busy with the yoga studio, opening several new branches and inviting wealthy wives to invest. The business flourished. When our daughter turned 3, I took my husband with me to travel around the world. We moved slowly from place to place, living freely and leisurely. One day during our travels, we came to Hong Kong. When we walked into a casino, we saw a manager beating a man. The man was handsome and charming. His clothes were expensive and rare, yet he lay on the ground like a stray dog. The manager spat at him. Still think you're the crown prince? If you don't have money, what the hell are you doing in a casino? I didn't stop walking, holding my daughter's hand. I smiled at my husband. Let's go. We should play a few rounds too. You know, back then I won quite a lot.